Good morning. This is the VSA Morning Miner, and it is Friday the 17th. And David Scriven, I'm with Paul Rankin. How are you today?
Oh, I'm better than the weather looks outside here at this point. It's a little dreary and a little bit of drizzle looks like outside, but I'm better than that.
It's a little bit misty here. I can't see anything at all. Anyway, let's have a talk about Guanajuato Silver, corporate client, new prepayment facility with OCIM. I think they're reducing their obligations from 10.5 million to 5 million, but perhaps you can articulate a bit more on that.
Yes, this is the debt facility. It's a revision of the debt facility they had with OCIM, and it's essentially a rewrite to take into account that the old debt facility priced at 10.5 million has already been more than half repaid just since November. So this new prepayment facility, US $5 million, has a 19-month term and a 3-month grace period for delivery, and then it's repayable over the following 16 months to deliver into it appropriate silver and gold ounces based on a 12% discount to the LBMA fixed price in order to pay it off. Guanajuato also announced that they have also deferred a portion of the final payout to buy back the royalties on the El Pinguico mine from the vendor. The final payment will be split in half, with half now paid and the remainder to be paid in October. So these things here, just new parts of cash flow and working capital management that the Guanajuato is undertaking.
Yeah, we've had some good news and momentum from this company, and the share price is outperforming silver. So very encouraging trends. Perhaps we can go to some of the political big macro pictures. Jeremy Hunt and the endorsement around small modular reactors.
Yes, that's right. Jeremy Hunt, he's the UK Chancellor of the Exchequer. He delivered his spring budget to UK Parliament on Wednesday, and in it, he specifically put an endorsement around small modular nuclear reactors with a special mention for the UK firm Rolls-Royce's technology in that regard. And the UK government has also joined the EU taxonomy in accepting nuclear as a green transition technology, such that it would be eligible then for government financial support going forward. Has to be remembered, though, that SMRs were endorsed by George Osborne when he was Chancellor back in 2015, and nothing much new in policy or support came from that. So we'll see whether the government now is truer to its word to actually put some muscle and fortitude behind that initiative.
Indeed. And keeping to the theme of government action, Brussels has now at last released the long-awaited Critical Metals Act legislation. It's kind of the equivalent to Joe Biden's Inflation Reduction Act. Perhaps you can kindly inform us on that one.
Yes, that's right. First of all, it was released in March, and that was according to the political schedule that they had outlined last year as to when it would be coming out. So apparently, politics overrules anything around the citizenry or economics of the going on at this point. That being said, this Critical Materials Act, some of the key points in it are it has a target of a deployment of in excess of European 20 or euros 21 billion in funding over the next 4 years out to 2028. It creates a formal recognition for projects of critical significance in the battery raw materials, including nickel and cobalt and rare earth elements. And it requires some content of rare earth magnets, chemicals to be from recycled material within 2 years, and they will have a mandated minimum recycled content in those magnets by 2030. There is a target of 10% of the materials demand to be from domestically mined sources in the EU by 2030, and 40% of domestic demand in midstream products and chemicals, i.e., the processing side, to be also domestic EU derived by the same date. All of this as part of the idea that by 2030, no critical material in raw material or midstream chemicals would be controlled by a foreign country of greater than 65% of EU market share. So there is a significant push here in order to not be as reliant upon China in particular, but there are other situations as well. Now, this will help particular business names that are listed here in the UK or otherwise working here in the EU in their business models. Names like Macango, Cotec, Alchemy Capital, Vulcan Energy, Neo Metals, Zinwald Lithium, all of these names are would be impacted by this legislation and hopefully quite favorably for investors.
Very interesting. Also, I think there was a forum by Wood Mac on its critical metals, and one of the commodities that seems to be most constrained on supply over the next couple of years is graphite. How do you feel about that?
Yes, Wood and Mackenzie holding their critical materials virtual forums both yesterday and today around various global regions. They have said that in their view, as far as market constraint wise on supply, that it is graphite which will be the most constrained for delivery in the next 2 years. Whereas, interestingly enough, copper, on the other hand, which was so popular with industry and investors at the moment, will have relatively adequate supplies over the next 2 years due to big mine ramp up in global output. So I think it might be a wake-up call for certain parties that what was weak or what was a big move in lithium in the last 18 months may very well occur a big move in graphite in the next 18.
That's definitely something to keep an eye on in the back and keep an eye on. I think that probably wraps things up, unless you would like to add any further things.
Just to say real quickly that ASX listed Ukrainian graphite producer Volt Resources has signed a binding offtake deal for the graphite from their developing Bunyu, Tanzania graphite mine to be delivered to the USA, 10,000 tons of annual production, which is about 40% of the stage one mine design to go to the USA.
Super. Paul, thanks very much for your insights. And in that regard, we should wish our listeners a very good weekend.
Very good. We'll see you next week.
Thanks.